MSNBC's Morning Joe and Mika Brzezinski, they apparently took no joy after President Trump got jeered at a World Series game. And they come out and voice their displeasure. Take a look.
So that's what unfortunately has been fed into America's political system through Donald Trump, and last night it was turned against him. But again, it's un-American, and the people in the stands that were doing it last night shouldn't have done it. In fact, they have learned from Donald Trump. That's what you do to political opponents.
All right, so look, obviously, yeah, they didn't take pleasure in that. But here's the thing, right? So now, calling this un-American. No, the history of America is that we stand up to tyrants and would-be tyrants. That's what we do. We also go after people who abuse their power for political gain. This is what Donald Trump and his family are doing. They're using political power for their own gain. Again, we have foreign emoluments. You have Ivanka Trump basically getting special deals for trademarks when it comes to China, using her position. You have the pressuring of a foreign leader, getting pressure to investigate Trump's political rivals. You have not only Joe Biden, but Elizabeth Warren also having calls to investigate her as well in Ukraine. Also China. Not to mention obstruction of justice, which William Barr chose to ignore when he said the president was essentially above the law. No, this isn't un-American. This is freedom of speech. You had literally the American people voicing their displeasure of a president of the United States. No, what's un-American is silencing free speech, which apparently Morning Joe seems to be in favor of. So now there's more video of this. And basically it's Joe hoping that Donald Trump would stop encouraging his own chants at campaign rallies, which, of course, is never going to happen, even though he has been on the receiving end of it now. Let's take a look at Joe.
I remember when Barack Obama was leaving office, a lot of liberals wanted George W. Bush tried by some international tribunal. I remember us saying, don't do it because it will be you on the other side of the presidency will then have to worry about retribution from the person that you follow.
Yeah.
And of course, you never think, Mike Barnicle, nobody ever thinks that anybody's ever going to follow them as president of the United States when they first get in. Just like Donald Trump, he's never imagined it. But live by the sword, die by the sword. And sure enough, now you have Donald Trump having Barr conduct an outrageous investigation against Barack Obama. And Donald Trump even calling the 44th president of the United States treasonous. It's like this guy is just not smart enough to figure out that what goes around comes around, and what he dishes out to others will be dished out to him. That's why everybody has to tone it down. Stop with the chants.
Oh my God!
Stop with the fascist-like tactics and the rhetoric. It's just un-American, and it's just not right.
Stop with the fascist-like rhetoric. You guys first. And by you guys, I mean Donald Trump and the Republicans. Again, Morning Joe used to be a Republican. But look, it's not even about that. It's more, and this is more about class solidarity. Look, Morning Joe, he's part of the club, as is Donald Trump. And the first rule of the club is never go against the club. But look, I've got more to break down here because there's a lot of stuff that he said in there that's ridiculous. For one, when he said, well, I remember when Obama got elected and you had calls for George W. Bush to be tried. Well, now what was he? Why were people calling for a trial for George W. Bush? Kind of refresh me. Oh, right. The over 1 million dead Iraqis from our unjustified illegal invasion of Iraq, of the Middle East. Could it have something to do with that? Again, there was no weapons of mass destruction. They never found weapons of mass destruction. And yet we invaded and we destabilized the entire Middle East in order to get access to oil so that our corporations can go in, take the oil, and make billions and billions of dollars from it. Yeah, that would be something that is definitely worthy of a trial or tribunal. I'm just saying. That's a pretty damn good reason. But here we have politicians that are essentially breaking the law in order to enrich themselves or their donors. And Donald Trump is no exception. No exception. All right. So anyway, now he added, live by the sword, die by the sword, right? Look, he's correct on that. Donald Trump, he doesn't understand, right? And what Joe said earlier was, look, Donald Trump's not smart enough to figure this out. No, of course not. He's never smart enough. And of course, he's going to be someone who is basically going to play the victim. And you're going to see that on Twitter afterwards. And that's, look, and that's what he does. He's booed. Now he's the victim, even though he started this whole thing. And so this is the problem with Morning Joe's commentary, right? So now Joe, he says, stop with the fascist-like behavior, right, from the crowd. But these two things are not equal. It's not as if that there's a progressive or Democratic politician out there saying, lock him up, and actually encouraging these chants. But see, that's what happened at the Trump rallies. Donald Trump encouraged these chants. He encouraged this behavior. This is the crowd saying, no, we believe that the president is a criminal. We believe he's a criminal. And so we're actually going to say something about it. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.